Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Start Guide. I am your host, Gavin Masters. It is day 29, and today I want to do a little bit of prep work for tomorrow. Tomorrow is CVC, but tomorrow is also day 30, where we get our high Katoon, and where I'd like to do a bit of a review of where we've come in the first month, what what maybe could be improved upon next time I do a Best Start Guide. I'm going to collect this Void Shard, and I'm going to look at the missions. We are trying to progress through the missions always. Since last time, I did go through. Wow, that's a lot of pop-up Splarium. I did go through a bunch of missions. So we completed a dragon mission. That's fine, and we have to stop here. This is one of the things that's kind of awkward about the missions. We probably technically have enough gems to just go in and unlock the magic keep to keep things going, but I don't want to do that because we only have 200 gems. I'd like to hang on to them, and quite frankly, there's other stuff we could do with our energy, like Minotaur. I think I do finally have a consistent way to beat the Minotaur. I'm just going to go in right now. You know I hate seeing that energy at full. It's good to always spend that energy. Make sure you keep it moving. And while that runs, I want to go over what I wanted to do today. So tomorrow, I wanted to do the day in review. Maybe I'll even write that here. Or month in review. Month in review. Month one in review. That's what it's going to be. It's something like that. Maybe I'll come up with a catchier title. I don't know. For today, though, I wanted to talk about the five. I think it's important when you're building champions in Raid Shadow Legends to focus on one at a time. And I've been saying this to my clan members and friends in the community for years, and we've been saying it to one another. It's what the great players when I first started, what they were saying to me, and it's now what I say to people. So I've come back to my roots, and I am starting over, and I'm finding that it is in fact necessary to build a bunch of fives. I you don't want to go too crazy though, because I've seen people give up on their accounts that are completely filled with fives. They'll have like 35s and they'll have no idea how they're going to get anybody to six. It really is a daunting task. Whereas if you start hitting the ground running by making sure your Kale gets to 6 stars first, and by Kale I mean whatever starter you chose, it doesn't matter. I think Galek is a perfectly good choice. A lot of other people will crap on Galek. Um, I started with Elhain, and I will swear by her. And I am quite fond of Ethel as a starting choice. Beanie chose her, in fact, and probably immediately gave up on her because then he pulled Leorius, which is completely awesome. He's got Leorius the Glorious. Um, yeah, if you're not already watching his channel, check out his channel. It's so cool to see somebody starting a new game with Leorius. It's dumb luck, but once the dumb luck sets in, then you know it's what you do with that luck that matters. And in fact, Beanie introduced me to a very fun kind of mini game of rock paper scissors, where he doesn't ask for subscribers, and I'm not going to ask for subscribers today. I don't think I ever really ask for subscribers. It's all implied, right? If you watch my channel and you like it, then you just sort of do it organically. Although that said, when I'm watching a channel that I like, if I forgot to like the show and they mention that, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to like this. I better like this." But anyway, rock paper scissors. I'm going to go Rochambeau go, and if I beat you, you got to subscribe. If you beat me, you have the luxury of subscribing, the privilege of subscribing. So Rochambeau go. Did you pick paper? If you pick paper, you got to subscribe. That's the unwritten rules of YouTube. If you tied me, then I don't know, leave a comment. Let's say I tied you. But anyway, the five. This is what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the importance of economizing your champions in Raid Shadow Legends. So you want five champions that can basically do it all. I did a best start guide a number of episodes ago. It's labeled in the. Let me just do another. Let's get this started. It's labeled in the list below. Um, but I can jump ahead to that quickly because there are a number of areas that you want to prioritize. Number one being campaign. Um, and I'm probably going to go over this again tomorrow anyway when I do the month in review. But basically, you want your campaign farmer, so that's going to be one of the five. You want your other four to be able to fill roles in your Demon Lord clan boss and to be able to fill roles in your dungeon. And to be able to fill roles in the arena, although the arena you can kind of cheat. So in the arena, for instance, I've got my turn meter controller is Diabolist. My buffer is actually at this point I'm not really using Spirit Host, but you could use Spirit Host for this role. My debuffer is War Maiden, and then my nuker is my main starter, which is probably going to be the case for the vast majority of you, unless you pulled Leorius the Glorious, and then he's your arena nuker, and he's your campaign farmer. And there are a number of cool Legos that you can happen to pull. Oh, look at that. Look at that. This is not 100%. I'm gonna have to tweak this team then. Figure out what went wrong. I do have Tagore at 5, though. He should be good at staying alive. Well, something to work on for tomorrow. I also wasn't paying attention to that fight, but when I review this footage, I will see what's wrong. I will see what needs to be tweaked. But anyway, that being said, we need a nice team of 5. So I have all the champions here that I have pulled that I am quite fond of that I'm going to use. So we got Kale and Sun Wukong. They've both been 6-starred, so they are going to be 2 of the 5. So here's the question. What are my other 3 going to be? I have Tagore. You see him in the middle right now, kind of carrying the team, trying to pick everybody up. He's in regen gear. He's my best reviver to date. I did get some help getting. Is she even on the list? Yes, she is. Getting Jamarsa. So Jamarsa could be the main reviver as well. For now, I'm going to be using Tagore. There's no rule that says I can't build both, of course, but in the first 5, it might be overkill to have 2 AoE revivers that also have a big heal. So I may have to choose one and have it be either Tagore or Jamarsa. I've got Apothecary here in the team. He's having a lot of trouble staying alive because he's only a 4-star right now. So I would like to at least get him to 5 stars. So he is a little bit better at staying alive. I have Shield Guard. Is he in the team? Yeah, he is. So he's the other one filling out the team right now. He is the other champion in a lifesteal. Basically, Kale, Shield Guard, both in lifesteal. What I like about Shield Guard is he's defense-based, so you can focus on defense entirely on him, while Kale is a lot squishier. I mean, I'm very nervous about this. Like he got so low there, and really, at a certain point, like my first playthrough, I didn't even have the wherewithal to purchase the first set of masteries for my starter, which was Elhain. So I did it the slow way of just gradually getting Elhain to the point where her stats and her lifesteal set was good enough that she could actually survive on her own when she got to the Minotaur so that she could farm her own masteries. It took forever. So, don't do it that way. I'd say purchase the masteries with the first 800 gems. Very good use of those 800 gems. I might even do that with a second champion if this gets too tedious and I find it's too unreliable, but I swear that loss is the first loss I've seen to the Minotaur in a while. So I'll have to review that, but It does mean this is still not a 100% team yet. I have Rathalos Blademaster and Zinogre Blademaster coming in. I'm going to pull them tomorrow for CVC. Well, I'm going to pull her for CVC. I pulled him last CVC. Um, both of them look like they're going to be hard carries for the clan boss, so I am tempted to make them part of the five. The five could, in fact, even be. I mean, maybe I take out Shield Guard, and I guess the other one would be Apothecary. So it would have to be Apo, Shield Guard. But I mean, I got all these other champions. I had all these other considerations. I got Diabolist. Diabolist doesn't necessarily need to be a 6 to do her job, but she can be faster. I have War Maiden. War Maiden is a champion that I often recommend you build eventually, just because even in the end game, you have a bunch of secret rooms where you're limited to rares, and often you're going to, well, you're probably going to be lacking on rares because beyond a certain point, a lot of us don't want to really build more rares because we get better things to build. We get epics, we get legendaries. Now there's mythicals. I am not expecting to ever pull a mythical because mythicals are crazy to pull. Like, I mean, look at this. Look at the odds of pulling a mythical. Maybe they're not listed here. They're listed here. I mean, the odds of pulling a mythical from a primal is 0.5. You have an 80+% chance of pulling a rare from a primal shard, which is not an easy shard to get. I mean, I still don't have one, and I've been playing almost a month. So I think that is a really stupid thing, Plarium. Plarium, you gotta fix something about this. I don't know what it is, but this sucks. Having an 80% chance, 80 plus, of pulling a rare, like you get rares from everything else. It's ridiculous. But that's enough of me complaining about that. Let's go to Clan Boss. We have the Clan Boss reset. Let's see what we got in terms of gear. Maybe we'll get a shard this time. We have never pulled a shard in this first month. It is kind of hilarious. This is at least a 5-star piece. Resistance on Cruel. That's not necessarily congruent, but I will take it for now. And we get more gear and more gear. Okay, fine, 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 fine. So I'm going to start the fight. I really want to get Sun Wukong all of his masteries so that he can score a lot more damage. At this point, Kale has all his masteries, so Kale is going to do the lion's share of the damage. So we got Neldor, Rhymeblade. He's really neat. I've already got him in my Fire Knight team. He's an epic that I was not expecting to pull. I underestimated how good he is. He's really good. I also pulled Neldor Rhymeblade on my main account from the same thing. They did the Prism Shard thing, and every account that I got a Prism Shard on, I got Neldor Rhymeblade. And I don't have a problem with that because it turns out he's actually a really good champion. You can even use him against Hard Fire Knight. Not that I expect this account will be ready for Hard Fire Knight anytime soon. We have Hoskarol, another candidate for my main five. I can see him working on the clan boss team because Hoskarol can outright block stun. He can recover the other champions from stun. He blocks stun himself, completely immune to it. I've also got Armiger. I don't know if he'd really be the first five at this point. I might even put him in this list here. This one might get moved down a little. Maybe I'll cut this, put it here. And we got Graybeard. Graybeard is another farmable campaign champion. Abyssal's not farmable, but I'm considering him. We've got Master Butcher. We've got a Tour, another epic I randomly pulled that I got in a shield set. He's got the toughest base HP in my entire roster. And then finally we got Eris. I'm a big fan of Eris. On my endgame account, she's actually in my clan boss team. She is one of the best rares in the game, but she's not necessarily going to be particularly helpful here. Although even against clan boss on a starter account, Eris can be great because Eris can increase the speed of the whole party and she can remove the stun from whoever gets stunned as long as it's not her. And she could do this once every 3 rounds. So if you're at a 1-to-1 speed ratio, you can still pretty much have her be your party cleanser. And she counterattacks anytime any of her allies get hit. So basically, every round she gets a free counterattack. So Eris is massive. Mr. Burrito Slayer put out a list of his top 5 rares and asked if there's anybody he missed. And I mean, if I were to pick a top 5, Eris would probably be one of the top 5. She's seriously that good. I would like to say War Maiden is probably also one of the top 5. That might be kind of astonishing to some people. They'll be like, War Maiden sucks. There's so many like better drop defense champions than her. Yeah, true. But she's the best rare at it. She's the only rare that has a 100% chance to do it. And there are lots of places where you have to use rares. And that's part of why I think War Maiden is one of the most powerful rares. Not because she's going to be in your end game advanced dungeon teams, but because once you get to areas where they start limiting who you can bring, turns out War Maiden is one of the best available. So this is what I have to consider for the near future. I don't have to decide tomorrow. I don't think I'm necessarily going to be ready to make a 6-star unit tomorrow, although I could say I could make a promise. I'm gonna put promise question mark, which I guess is not a promise. It's more a thing I'd like to do. But next 6 during CVC. Can I do it? It'd be a worthy goal. CVC is a good place to drop a little bit of extra effort because you do get extra materials when you're doing CVC. Tomorrow I've also got uh actually today is Spirit Keep. What the heck is tomorrow? I guess tomorrow's Force Keep. So we got to wait until Wednesday to advance the missions. We can't. I mean, we can, but I don't want to spend the gems. Uh, but that's the way to get through. Then dungeon mission is coming up. I just got to beat stage 7 of Minotaur, so that should be no problem. So we could just look on ahead. Then there's the spirit potions. So I'd have to wait for that day again after that. Ascend a champion to 5 stars of ascension. We've already had to do that once. Upgrade artifact to 16. We've already had to do that once. So it's good to kind of see that that's coming. So one thing that I'll want to prepare then is make sure there's somebody that's 5 stars that isn't fully ascended yet. I'd really like to get Sun Wukong ascended as soon as possible, though. So he might get ascended on. He'll probably get ascended on Tuesday or Wednesday. You can always make 5-star food and just ascend those when you see these as well. Like there's nothing wrong with ascending, say, a Fireblade, because if you go to the tavern and you have a look at what the ascension costs are, they're actually very low, all things considered. Once I farm the Spirit Keep a bunch, I'm probably going to have a crap ton of these, the lesser spirit potions. I did Arcane yesterday, and I got all these potions popping out. Really, I was just trying to complete a mission, and that's what popped out. So on my endgame account, sometimes it says, yeah, we still get the mission of ascend a champion. I'll just put a bunch of really small potions into an uncommon because eventually You're just going to be swimming in these lesser potions. I mean, my end game account is swimming in all of them, but I figure the best way to be economical is to just quickly ascend an uncommon, even if I'm about to feed it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I have an abundance of resources there. So I wanted to go to the Spirit Keep because I want to ascend Sun Wukong, and I do not have a lot of potions right now. I'm just going to run a generalist team. It doesn't matter which one I run. I got a tour in here right now because he's in a shield set. Although he's more there to protect food champions. In this team, he's probably the weakest. But I'm fine with running him because I like to have champions level passively as they're doing stuff. So I want to do the Spirit Keep today. And that's probably what I'm going to spend the extra energy on. So, CVC prep. Here's the question for CVC. Just a thing to use the remainder of the energy on, assuming I have enough potions, assuming I have enough masteries. I'm never going to have enough masteries. I could just run Minotaur the whole time. Come to think of it, as soon as this fight ends, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a quick look at the CVC roster pop-up window thingy. I forget what they call it. Ooh, my tea is not hot anymore. I'm just going to switch to water. But you can kind of decide what you're going to do based on what points are going to get doubled. There's almost always a dungeon that has double the points, at least until a certain threshold. Oh, and I'm reminded, this is something I might need a specialty champion for, because if we're not doing enough damage to her, she just recovers, I think, up to half her health on harder difficulty levels. So maybe instead of a tour, I should be bringing somebody with 100% heal reduction. I do have somebody that does that, but I'll fix that in a minute. What I want to do is I want to look at that window. Clan versus clan tournament. I don't know, the tournament window. But we can take a look at it. And we can see Sand Devil, Shogun, and Arena are doubled. Those are the objectives that are doubled. So these are dungeons. I don't even know if they're open yet. They probably are. Come to think of it, I think I've just never run them. So I don't know what that's going to look like. We could try to push that now as well. We are eventually going to want oils to improve the gear of the best champions on the account. And this is for improving accessories. This area is almost irrelevant to us right now because we have very few accessories. We've only got 2 6-stars. But this is something we could definitely push, especially since these dungeons are worth double. Maybe I'm going to want to run these. But I also am not a huge fan of clan versus clan in general. I think it's not good for the player. So I don't really expect clan members to be pushing too hard on that. I want my clan members to just in the this is in the starter clan that I've got, the Border Town Junior. In the main Border Town clan, we do have a minimum requirement of 50, but if you're an endgame player, 50,000 points. If you're an endgame player, 50,000 points is really something you will get organically. So that's kind of the minimum expectation in that clan. But in this one, there's none. I mean that they still make an enforced. If I go to the leadership menu here, um, it's just on info. Um, this is an enforced main contribution. There's just a 1,000. You got to do at least 1,000 in CVC if you want to get any of the nice little sub rewards that pop out. Um, and there's going to be personal rewards too. You only get these if you win. I don't know why it always defaults to 6 tier to like sucker you into thinking, ooh, look at all this good stuff we're gonna get. But then it starts and it turns out you're actually in tier 1, which kind of sucks. I expect this account to be in tier 1, and I expect it to be like that for a while. Um, but for now, you know what? We're probably full on arena tokens. So maybe I'll do a couple of classic arena fights. I love to start with the single defenders. I love it when people have single defenders. It's a good way to make life easier for all of us. I have a single defender as well. I think it's Spirit Host for now. No, no, no. The other one. Diabolist. It's Diabolist for now. I could make it Spirit Host. I could make it War Maiden. I could make it both. I don't know. It'll just be Diabolist for now. My Diabolist, I am pretty proud of where I got my Diabolist to on this account. Fastest unit by far. I got her all the way to 246. I'm going to try to push her above 250 as soon as possible. It's important to go first in arena. Diabolist really helps with that. So with just about any team that I see in the arena, in anything below gold, and I wasn't paying attention. Are we in silver 3 or silver 4? Wow, obviously War Maiden is not accurate enough. She didn't manage to land decreased defense on any of them, and she's booked. She's at least booked up to 100%. So I don't know what happened there. So we're in silver 3. So silver 3, we're absolutely fine. Here, we'll try this team. They got a bunch of epics, a little scarier looking. We killed a Duchess team yesterday. That was exciting. So yeah, she got it that time. So I don't know if it was like a crazy bizarre fluke, because you always have that 3% chance of not getting it. This team with like all its legendaries, but a low account power or a low team power, it makes me think we could probably beat it. So for the first 5, it's probably not going to be Diabolist or War Maiden, but they might be in the first 10 or the first 15. This is what I'm thinking. But for the first 5, they got to be for Clan Boss. So I've gone over the list. I'll probably go over it again at the end of the video. But what do you guys think? I got Sun Wukong and Kale. They're my 2 first 6s. So they're locked in. I need 3 others. I'm thinking the 2 Blade Masters and a Reviver. One of the 2 Revivers. So it's either going to be Tagore or Jamarsa. Jamarsa has the ability to lower the cooldowns of everybody's moves. So she can get everybody doing their big hits more frequently. Every single time, as long as she's fully booked. So I do want to book her and try her out. See if she helps the clan boss. On Kale, for example, Kale's got his Quadra poison shot. He doesn't even use the other one. Somebody was asking in the clan chat the other day about when it's appropriate to completely shut off the area of effect attack, and clan boss is one of them. Dragon is another one. When you get to the dragon, honestly, you're probably better off. Oh, we lost that one. You're probably better off shutting it off if you fight the Fire Knight as well, because against the Fire Knight, you've got that crazy shield that gets put up, and you want multi-strike moves against it, so you really don't want to be favoring an AoE when you have a 4-hitter. Let's try this one. If this team gets to go first, that ally attack is absolutely going to murder us, probably. I'd love to get an ally attacker on this account. Ally attack is OP. It's fantastic. Especially if you have a bunch of champions that have an area of effect on their A1. Then you can really stack those up. Champions like Senesha and Skullcrown and Mighty Uko. And there are even rares that have it. You have Soulbond Boyer and Abyssal, and there's an Ogre that does it. I even have him on the account. Blanking on his name. Roughstone? I think his name's Roughstone. I don't even know where he is. Where are you, buddy? This guy. Right now, this guy is at least going to be my attack carry in Faction Wars. They're even uncommons, come to think of it. There's also Saurus, yet another one. Burrito Slayer is just going to go ahead and build him as his main campaign farmer, which I think is pretty inspired because he's got nothing but area of effects in his kit. All things considered, like just a really cool uncommon. My favorite uncommon, of course, is this guy. I mean, I have two favorite uncommons. Honestly, I'm a big fan of Armiger. Um, Armiger's great for bosses, so that's why he's on the list. Actually, we can go over his kit. Let's do this. Let's do this because I have I have energy I could burn through today, but I'm really just going to use the extra energy for today. We'll use the crypt keys. Ooh, the barbarian crypt is open. So I can do what I was talking about with a tour. Try to get through. It's too bad. It's too bad we don't have Jamarsa today. If we had Jamarsa today, you know what? When we get Jamarsa, I'm going to go back. I'm going to max out the stars on these. I was able to use a tour in a shield set to get 3 stars up to stage 6. Whereas without it, I was frequently losing people even by stage 3, just because there was just nothing protecting them. But let's go over the list. So I got Kale, I got Sun Wukong. Let's talk about the merits to Tagore. So Tagore has an area of effect revive. He's got the advantage of also already being a 5-star. His hit points, I actually tweaked his gear since last time. I got him up to about 35,000 HP last time, but with a speed of maybe 120, and I found that was just too slow. He wasn't getting his regen procs fast enough. We basically need that maybe at a 3-to-2 ratio with the enemy. So at 150 plus speed, and I might even put this in a goal for a lot of your starter team. You probably want everybody to be at least 150. Ideally, I'd like to get everybody to over 200 speed, but at the start of the game, very difficult to do. Right now, this account has exactly 2 champions that are there. We've got Apothecary with his speed subset and the fastest relentless stuff that I got. I mean, I got lucky and got speed relentless boots. Um, you want speed boots almost all the time. That's just about the only thing that's going to be good, because it's too important to make sure you have enough speed that you're going frequently enough. So if you can get your speed above 200, you get to go to a 2-to-1 ratio with most of what you will face in the dungeons, in campaign, in faction wars, and so on. 200 speed is going to make your life way easier. It's just going to be way easier to survive. If you have champions with lifesteal gear or regen gear, they're going to have twice as many chances to recover that health. Do you go for lifesteal or regen? It really kind of depends on what the champion does. I'd say usually if it's a support champion and they're not using area of effect attacks, this guy actually has an area of effect attack, which is neat. A lot of AoE revivers don't also get an AoE attack. This one actually does, which is just kind of crazy. But I've put him in regen anyway because he doesn't do a lot of damage. So even champions that do a lot of damage, you get more consistent healing out of regeneration. Like if Tagore gets stunned, he'll still regenerate. Whereas if Kale gets stunned, he isn't going to attack on that turn, and he's not going to get health back. But fighting the clan boss, Kale can regenerate all of his health in a single attack, whereas Tagore is always only going to be recovering about 18% of his health because he's got regen, which is 15%, and then he's got a little subset here for an additional 3%. So that's 18 plus the masteries. Once I put his masteries in, I can't believe I haven't put masteries in yet, but we'll probably give him lay on hands to get a little more healing out of that. Particularly good because he's not just getting healing for regen. He actually has a healing move. He's got revives all undead allies with 30% HP. And this actually does healing. So he's got an area of effect attack that also does a heal to the party. Just what a great champion. So that's why I'm considering this guy to be one of my first 5. He will be in the first 10, almost certainly, but he's definitely should be the first 10, maybe the first 5. I don't know. Rathalos Blade Master has the potential to do huge amounts of damage. Here's another consideration. I also need to consider the gear. So it's easy enough for me to gear up a couple of support champions because I've got an eclectic amount of gear. But when I'm looking for my best gear for all my nukers, I start to tap out once I've put all of them in my best stuff. I start to run out of stuff. I don't have particularly good stuff for Rathalos Blade Master. We're getting Xeno Gray Blade Master coming in. I'm going to want her to have good gear as well. So that's a consideration. I could, when considering who's to be in my first 5, I could bypass the idea of there being a dedicated healer at all, whether it be Tagore or Jamarsa. There's also Apothecary, but you can't really consider him to be a dedicated healer. His single target heal is huge, but it's a single target heal, and really Apothecary's there for the speed. But if we have multiple, basically, I'll put it this way. If I can find enough lifesteal gear, enough decent lifesteal gear, this would involve farming a lot of dragon, so I could spend CVC doing that. We don't have a huge amount of lifesteal gear right now, but my very first account on Clan Boss, I didn't have a dedicated healer. I never got anybody with Leech. I never got anybody who could be a dedicated healer on the team. But I did have Skull Crusher. Let me just go to Skull Crusher. I don't have him this time, unfortunately, but if you happen to get Skull Crusher or anybody better than Skull Crusher, he's got this counterattack that he puts on the whole party. And if everybody's in lifesteal, basically, as long as they aren't outright killed, they get back all of their health every round. It's not even that much of a challenge. They get back all of their health every round. The one thing to watch out for is the damage that's coming in. So eventually, like the clan boss, as he fights you, his damage ramps up. Every time he uses an area of effect attack, it's more severe than the last. It's listed in the rules of the clan boss. I don't need to go over that. Basically, lifesteal. If you don't have support, lifesteal. If you got one champion with your first champion and you're looking for a way to keep him alive, lifesteal is pretty much it. Unless he's really fast, and then you can put him in regen, and that can be consistent. And toward the end game, that's still probably the better healing meta on any champion, because toward the end game, you're not doing enough damage to the enemies anymore. They're too tough. So you have to find ways of staying alive and crowd controlling the enemies. But in the early game, you are doing enough damage, and you can also score healing out of other things, other masteries. Like you can get Life Drinker, that gets you a bit more healing out of the actual damage you do. You can get Exaltant Death, this gives you healing. every time an enemy's killed. Well, first one in a round, but frequently that's enough if you got a team that's blowing through enemy waves quickly. So, who are my first five going to be? I don't know. This is a tentative list, right? I talked about Tagore. I've got Rathalos Blade Master, who just does a lot of damage, and then we got Zenogre Blade Master, Xenogray Blade Master. I still don't know how to pronounce it. I gather at this point it's actually Xenogray. I'm just not sure. But if we go to the index, she's in the Shadowkin. And we're going to pull her tomorrow. So it's going to be an exciting time. So she's got a speed aura in dungeons, which is super cool. This is going to be the new best aura in dungeons because we'll be 30% faster. So if I can get everybody to if I could get everybody even to 120 speed, um, she's just going to be boosting anybody that's got a base speed of 100, so maybe more like 130 because some of the champions like Shield Guard I think has a speed of 89. So I might want to get him to something like 130 speed so that the extra 20% speed gets me above 150 for everybody. It's going to help everybody survive better. So this will help in dungeons, but against clan boss, we have Leech. And with Leech, we don't need lifesteal on everybody. As long as they're doing enough damage, the Leech is going to heal them up. And part of how you do enough damage, let me go over Kit first, and then we'll get back into it. We have an increased speed for the whole party. That's going to be useful. We have Weaken. That's going to be useful. And finally, she attacks three times here, 4 times here, 4 times here. So note those numbers because there are masteries that help you do way more damage when you're building your champions. And I've gone over this before, but it bears repeating because a lot of people just joining on want to know how to do more damage to the clan boss, and it's this. War Master for anybody that doesn't have a bunch of multi-strikes because you get this 60% chance of popping out a huge damage bonus. If, like Xenogray, Blade Master, they have 3 hits or more on everything, you have a lower chance, but you get to do this again and again and again. Chances at big damage numbers. So basically, for Clan Boss, you either want this one or this one, depending on whether it's single strike or multi-strike. You can take other choices. I've had champions before that have enough base damage that it makes sense to bring Helm Smasher against the clan boss. This is what I do on my main account. I have a Turvold, and he does. Let's bring up Turvold. I have Turvold, and he does crazy amounts of damage because he can buff himself with this. And if you get enough buffs on him, and he'll often have 5 on his own turn, he starts to do increased damage based on the number of buffs. It doesn't list the actual number here, but basically he can go up to triple damage. If he's got 10 buffs, triple damage. 5 buffs, it's about double damage. So once you're doing a crazy amount of damage like that, it can be, you can at least break even by doing Helm Smasher. And Helm Smasher does a lot more damage in the arena, so that's the other consideration when looking at ultimately what mastery to get on your main nukers. And the question is, where are you using them? So probably most of the champions we build in the first 5 are going to have this or this. But Sun Wukong, for instance, might have this for the simple reason that Sun Wukong has the unique ability to ignore all defense off this. And when fully booked, he gets this every 3 rounds. And this can be a huge explosive hit because he ignores 50% of defense. Just flat out ignores it. If I can get enough Savage gear, and I have some, I'm going to need better Savage gear, I think. But I've got this set aside. We've got a couple of pieces. this is really not particularly good Savage gear, but this is at least attack percent, which is probably the boots that I'm going to give him. It's one of the few exceptions of the speed boot rule. I got speed boots too for someone. I haven't figured out who's going to be taking this one. Probably Rathalos Blade Master. He'll probably get the speed boots, and the attack boots will probably go on Sun Wukong. Just because anytime Sun Wukong dies, it's not that one. Anytime he dies, he actually gets to come back at full turn meter and just immediately let rip. It's a very, very cool mechanic. So Sun Wukong, actually, we don't even have to worry about healing on Sun Wukong because he'll just keep popping back up. So there's probably a delicate balance there between how much speed I want and how much attack I want, how much I want to rely on the passive. So how are we doing for time here? I've been going on for a while. We're at 45 minutes. So I haven't accomplished much today, but I also feel like I have accomplished a lot for the sake of the video because this is the goal. I want to narrow down the 5 to an actual 5 or have a tentative 5. So let's quickly go over that, and then I'm basically going to close the video. I did want to decide a best dungeon also, come to think of it. We'll do that quickly. It's going to be pretty obvious because if we look at Dragon, I think 15 is the highest that I can do on Dragon. Dragon is worth half the points for some strange reason. I don't know why they did it this way, but if you look at the points for objectives, Dragon is worth, if we can do Dragon 15, it's worth 20 points. That sucks. So I probably won't bother with that. Honestly, at this threshold, unless I can really reach Dragon 20, it's not really a big carry for points anyway. For Minotaur, I can actually do stage 15, so that might actually be a better use of points. Because if I'm doing Dragon 15 for 20 points, yeah, Minotaur might actually be it. But if you look at Ice Golem and the others, for instance, it's double the points. So if there are any of them where I can fight stage 16, Fire Knight is probably right out. I think Fire Knight, for instance, stage 10 is the highest that I've reached. I could try to push that. Stage 10, I think, is the best on Spider as well. And we did Dragon. Ice Golem. There he is. Ice Golem, we got to stage 11. So that's a little more points. That's what? Maybe 60 points? So if we look at this. So if we could do Sand Devil, that might be better. But if we could do stage 11 of Ice Golem, that's worth 40 points. Minotaur is worth 80 points. So Minotaur is the best dungeon out of those. That basically just leaves the potion dungeons, or the oil dungeons, I'm sorry. The potion dungeons are also worth points, but again, they are harder to push. So if we go to Sand Devil, let's just fight the Sand Devil. See how it goes. I've never fought the Sand Devil before. We'll take the dungeon team. I said I wanted to switch. Oh yeah, that was for Spirit. That was for Spirit. A tour is fine for here. I also I have a hilariously fast farming team for Sand Devil 3 on my main account. Just to talk about how good Turvold is again for a second. If you ever happen to pull Turvold, just completely amazing. He basically beats the Sand Devil on stage 3 in 2 moves. He just kind of does his attack, places weaken, and then does a self buff and just completely murders him. 9 seconds. Pretty good way to farm food and oil at the same time. I think it takes 9 seconds anyway. So best dungeon. I forget offhand how many points we get for the lower levels of these, but my suspicion is it's probably going to be comparable with the other dungeons. So I think Minotaur is the way to go on an early account. Honestly, I think the answer is Minotaur. If you can do Minnow 15, of course. I think that's the best. So and this is great because honestly, that's what I want to do anyway. I want to run Minotaur so that I can get Sun Wukong all of his masteries. In my Minotaur team, I've got Kale, Sun Wukong, Tagore, and Apothecary and Shield Guard are the other two that are in there right now. So if they're not going to be part of the main five, it might behoove me to remove them from the team and just run these three so that they get their masteries a little bit faster. But we saw that team fail already. So I really want to put my best foot forward. I might take these two and place them in though, because I'm going to want their masteries if they're part of the first five. So I am thinking these could be my first five. And I'm leaving this as an open question to you guys. This is going to be a two-part question. Part one, who do you think is my best five? Do you agree with me that I should just start with these? That this would be a perfectly good clan boss team, a perfectly good general dungeoneering team. I would like to have either Apothecary or Diabolist in my main five just because they bring a lot more speed. Both is probably overkill, but at least Apothecary, he's got a lot of utility. He is a really, really solid rare. But I'm going to go over that in a minute. I'm going to go over my two-parter question in a minute. So we are almost through this dungeon. This took 3 minutes if we even managed to win. I think we're going to make it. But I don't like how long this dungeon takes, and it really doesn't look like we're going to be able to push the dungeon all that far. But we can technically get a little bit of oil from it. So if we return to this list and we view the points for Sand Devil, for instance, 20 points. If we could do stage 10, which we are not going to reach, it'd be 100 points. So basically, the 80 points for Minotaur is a really good deal. So it's going to be Minotaur. That answers that question. I thought it was going to be a harder question, but honestly, on an early account like this one, where I can't really push the dungeons all the way to the bottom, it's going to be Minotaur. Because Minotaur this is the plus side. The minus side is I don't know when they're ever going to improve Minotaur so that we can get scrolls faster because Minotaur takes forever. But at least the points are good in CVC. At least there's that. At least Plarium did us a solid there. So cheers, Plarium. So Kale. Kale is a 6-star. Sun Wukong is my other 6-star. So who should the next 3 be? This is my open-ended question to you guys. I'm thinking this guy, and this guy, and Xenogray Blade Master, or maybe Apothecary. Like this guy does damage. Rathalos Blade Master, he's just there for the damage. I'm sure I can find the gear to make it work. And a lot of the damage comes from the masteries anyway. Although that said, you could do this with any champion. I mean, if you're relying mainly on War Master for the vast majority of the damage, I could be using Apothecary. Apothecary could be using Giant Slayer because Apothecary has 3 hits on his A1. This is his only attack. I could probably turn the single target heal off completely and just have him attack more frequently. Because the single target heal is probably not going to help too much with Clan Boss. Unless I time it so that he's using this right after the stun hit. I could probably figure out how to speed tune the team to work that way. Would be tricky though, because he's bringing quite a lot of speed, so we're not going to be going one-to-one with the clan boss, and that's another consideration. Do I want a one-to-one speed ratio team where every time I take a turn, the clan boss takes a turn? Apothecary is going to make us go faster than the clan boss, which is probably more ideal for lower levels of the clan boss. The other main speed controller would be Diabolist. She doesn't have the same healing though. She's only got single target attack. So honestly, Diabolist is probably a weaker choice than Apothecary, with the exception that Diabolist is so fast. I love her base speed, and I want to get it even faster by 6-starring her, but I doubt that she's going to be one of the best 6-stars. But we got Shield Guard. He's an uncommon. And he's got a crazy good kit. He's got an area of effect attack that I can use on enemy waves. It's got 20% turn meter for each crit. So basically, I want him to just have as high crit rate as possible, so he just does it constantly, and it's on a 2-turn cooldown. So it basically means he does this and immediately this, and then on his next turn he does this and immediately this, and he just keeps doing his AoE. It's almost like having an AoE on every turn. It's almost like having a Saurus that gets, his AoE plus a single attack, except the area of effect attack that Shield Guard has hits way harder than Saurus's A1. Because A1s typically, because they can't be put on cooldown, they're not as powerful. So, Shield Guard, amazing uncommon. We've got Armiger. This is the other uncommon I'm considering to be in my first 5. It seems like kind of an absurd idea until you look at this. Attacks one enemy. Enemies killed cannot be revived. And that makes this guy our only revive blocker, except I think I actually have a second one. Yeah, I got Conqueror from the campaign. So this guy also does it. He's another champion I'm considering building somewhat. I'm not really considering to be part of the first 5 though, whereas Armiger really could be. He does enough. He does enough work that I think he could do it. He's the only champion I've got that does this much turn meter damage. Honestly, this is still one of the best turn meter damaging moves in the game, and it's coming from an uncommon. He's defense based, so I can build him to be super duper tough. And finally, not only does this block revive on enemies that it kills, like this guy's going to be required. Once we get to the Doom Tower, we've got the Frost Spider, for instance, and it's very difficult to keep HP burn up on the Frost Spider because he's got to be on fire when you kill him, or her. Maybe it's a her. They always have spiderlings. I assume maybe they're spider mommies. And there are other champions that will also get back up. This puts a stop to that. But furthermore, damage is based on enemy max HP, and this is often one of the best damaging things in the game. Armiger's modifiers on this are about half what they are for, say, Cold Heart and the epics that do it and the legendaries that do it, but they all do it on a 4-turn cooldown, and Armiger does it on a 2-turn cooldown, so he gets to use it twice as often. So basically, he's hitting as hard as a legendary, as long as you're dealing with a boss with a lot of HP. Just a completely nutty uncommon. So if you're having trouble with bosses, this guy's got all kinds of stuff to help with bosses. You can't turn meter manipulate the clan boss, but this is only every other move. And then you'd just be doing this every other move, and you'd be doing the big damage to the clan boss. So I am seriously considering Armiger as one of the 5. I just don't know. So there's a strong case for Apothecary, strong case for Armiger, Strong case for Shield Guard. But then we got Hoskarol. Hoskarol can get rid of the stuns, so he can be a cleanser. He could be a stun target, so he can't even be stunned at all. He also increases defense for the whole party. This being up means we're going to last against the clan boss longer. Because under increased defense, it reduces the damage coming in. Lasting longer means I have more turns to do more damage. So Hoskarol could easily also be on the list. We got Gorlos. Gorlos isn't even, he's not even in the notes. But he's somebody that I want to consider as well. Let's add him. Gorlos. He's our first epic. And I didn't book him, and now I'm glad I didn't book him because there are considerations for champions that maybe need the books more. Like Jamarsa maybe needs them the most. Maybe Tagore needs them the most. Um, but Gorlos has HP burn. We could book it to 100%. So we could put HP burn on the clan boss. That's good passive damage for the clan boss. He's not the best in the game at it. I'd say the best in the game is probably Geomancer. You happen to get Geomancer. I'm just going to interrupt the champions I have to talk about a champion I want. But if you have Geomancer, his HP burn pops off an extra bit of damage off this passive. And these numbers are huge. This is basically like having a Giant Slayer built in. So you could even build Geomancer with War Master and then have extra Giant Slayer stuff just sort of kick in on top of his War Master. Just a completely busted way to fight the clan boss. So if you ever pull this guy, man, he's on your clan boss team. He's nuts. How good he is. Also good for Hydra. Also good for like any other boss. He's good at bosses. That's what he does. So, who else have I not talked about yet? Neldor. This guy's really good at Fire Knight. But he'd also be really good at Clan Boss. He's got the 3 hits here. He's got the 4 hits here. He's got the 2 hits here. So again, if he goes after the Giant Slayer Mastery, he's going to be popping off huge damage numbers against the Clan Boss. And he's good in other dungeons too. He's even got this crowd control component, right? He's got freezes. He can pop off these freezes anytime a partner uses freezes. And I think I have him here in the notes. Yeah, Greybeard. So if I were to pair him with Greybeard, do I have any Greybeards out, or are they all in the vault? I think they're all in the vault. But I have duplicates of Greybeard because I was farming trying to get duplicate copies of Spirit Host, and I just wound up with the Skinwalker instead of the Dark Elf. It's just the way the game goes. Isn't it always the way? But he's got an AoE freeze, which can be booked up to a 40%, and with the right mastery, it gets to a 45%. So he's putting a freeze out on a whole bunch of champions, and then Neldor is coming right in and attacking a bunch of random champions with his A1 and scoring more freezes. So that would be a super fun combo. That's why it's down here. It's down here on my freeze team. I'd really like to build a freeze team. Is it practical for me to make the freeze team in my first 5? I don't know, but they'll be in the first 10. I'm even going to do that in the first 10. I think they should be in the first 10. Should they be in the first 5? Probably not, because I think priority 1 is farming, both dungeons and campaign. That's priority 1. You have to be able to farm campaign, which is why my first had to be Kale. Whoever you started with, if you started with Athel, it's got to be her. Elhain, her. Galek, him. If you got lucky and you pulled Leorius or some other really crazy champion like Skullcrown or Sinesha or something like that, then obviously he or she is your campaign farmer. But once you got that covered with your first one, Clan Boss. That's extremely important. So we need healing for Clan Boss. Zinogre Blade Master has the healing that we'd need, so we wouldn't necessarily need somebody like Tagore. Tagore has that AoE revive, which can be good at getting people back up, But here's the problem with using revivers in Clan Boss, and this is important. When I first played this game, I thought if I brought a reviver, I could probably just stay alive against the Clan Boss indefinitely. False. You can't. Because he's constantly ramping up his damage. Basically, as soon as, if you're healing up to full every round, as soon as he starts taking out your champions, you're done. You're dead. You're done, Clan Boss. You've scored as much damage as you're going to do. Because that's it. I mean, you can't revive him to death. It doesn't work that way. So that's why there's limited value against clan boss. But of course, in dungeons and any other boss, we're going to want somebody like Tagore or Jamarsa, possibly even both of them. So they're both going to be in the first 10. I promise to put them in the first 10 because they're both amazing. Um, but in the first 5, I definitely want Zinogre Blade Master because she's got the leech. She's the only one who's going to have the leech. So probably she will be number 3. Um, After that, is there anybody here I haven't talked about? Oh, yes, there's some others. Abyssal, Master Butcher, Atur, and I did mention Eris. Um, Abyssal is another one that could actually function as a fast campaign farmer just because of his A1. He's out, right? And he even got a blessing on him. So I could probably give him something like Phantom Touch to give him more damage. That's another thing I have to consider what blessing he's going to get, but it almost certainly will just be Phantom Touch because I like his A1. It's actually his only attack, but he attacks all enemies. He's got these books up to a 25% chance of placing block buffs, which is great. Great for crowd control. I put mine in a stun set because honestly, having him attack with his A1, you're going to score stuns with this. So this guy's going to be tons of fun. Will he be even in my first 10? I don't know. He's going to be my faction farmer at the very least. But I think he could even work as a campaign farmer. I actually haven't directly examined his modifiers against Saurus, but I would like to. They're the same affinity, so it would be a good thing to know. Does he get better modifiers? His attack stat, I mean, is considerably worse. That might be another thing to consider, is that really I think he's more of a support champion, so he might not have the damage there. But he also brings a lot of other stuff, right? He's got a heal. Heals are great. You always want more healing. And he's got increased defense and increased attack for the whole party. And even though it's the weak version, the fact that he's putting them both up with the same move is huge. So I love this guy. This guy is one of the best rares in the game. Probably full stop. I don't even think I mentioned him the other day when I commented on Mr. Burrito's first his list of top rares. Like, I mean, he really got the good rares, and then I'm probably picking like the ones that are my personal favorites. Because honestly, you could make a case for War Maiden. Like I make a case for War Maiden. I think she's one of the best rares in the game, but she does get outclassed very quickly by other champions for anywhere where you're allowed to pick whoever you want. For me, it's just about, who are you limited to being able to pick? In the end game, you've got areas like Cintranos and the secret rooms that do that to you. But anyway, that's probably my hour. I'm starting to get a sore throat. I might actually be coming down with something. My girlfriend came home sick from her vacation, so I'm probably going to end up with whatever she got. But that's the question. Who are my top 5 going to be out of all of these? So let me know if you agree with my choice of top 5, which might be these. Honestly, I might replace Rathalos with Apothecary just for the start, and I might even take Armiger in place of Tagore, or maybe Shield Guard in place of Tagore. I don't know, because Tagore and Jamarsa, I do want to make them 2 of my first 10, but they're probably fine as 5 stars. At 5 stars, I think I can make them tough enough to survive. And then they'd be the just the support for dungeons and other regions where I need support. But when I need the damage, I'll have more damage for clan boss. So my first 5 might be Kale Sun Wukong, Xenogray Blade Master, uh, and then Apothecary and Armiger, or maybe Gorlos. Although if I do Gorlos, then I might want Rathalos Blade Master because he starts to do more damage when you get HP burns. Anyway, so that's up in the air. If you have a strong opinion about who my first 5 should be, please let me know in the comments. And here's the part 2 of my question. What is your top 5? Who are going to be your first 5 stars? Do you know yet? Or do you want help picking your top 5? If so, let me know in the comments. Uh, aside from that, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves.